SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeeps.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
More.
Now you're like,
No, Jeffrey's doing production things. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. My name is Neil with SFJ4x4, Simpson Family Jeeps, and I am in Grandma's couch studio on this temperate Monday.
I'm not sure we're live because I didn't hear the goat yet.
Jeffrey was clicking buttons and doing things, and
He still didn't do it. I gave him the perfect lead in the goat.
we're not getting the goat today, buddy.
I don't have the sound effects because I don't have the right memory card.
Oh, he wasn't ready for his job today. That's... You called him out on air. You called him out.
That's okay.
I didn't know.
Well, who the heck are you guys?
Well, the guy that doesn't know what you don't know until you know it.
Oh my God.
So that's the mad scientist, Scott
Whoa.
Brown.
Whoa. Did you hit puberty this morning? What was that?
I don't have a voice right now because of this weekend. So
And you know what, folks, as per the usual, if you're new to joining us, if you want to hear about what we did this weekend, excluding Jeep activities, but kind of that personal take on things, stay tuned to after the outro.
So it means Neil has to carry us this week because I have job problems and Jeff has no voice.
yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
I mean,
So we've got
let's
the
be
mad
honest,
scientist.
He carries the show anyways because he loves to talk, so it's good.
I love the sound of my own voice, apparently. So, mad scientist, and then the Italian stallion, the producer, who also loves the sound of his own voice, Jeff Giramonte.
And in the comments, we've got Nate first again saying good morning. Giaga
Morning.
Jeepers saying good morning. Bradford saying good morning. Night Rider Jeep saying morning, gents.
Good morning. Good morning.
Joe O'Brien says morning. Robert Seaman says morning, gentlemen.
Sun's out, guns out.
Yeah,
with you.
That. And then we got Bill McWilliams saying top of the morning to y'all. And Jeannie's Jamming Jeep saying good morning, everyone. Toledo was a blast.
And Jeannie, let me take this moment to tell you that the cookies were appreciated and delicious. Yeah, so just put it out there.
I heard she was looking for you all over Toledo.
I played a
You were
really
playing
good,
a really good game. Of
really
hide and
good
seek.
game of Where's Waldo.
Oh, okay.
And we'll talk about that here in a hot second. So.
Oh, and then Charles said good morning from Texas. It's definitely raining here today.
Oh.
So,
Good. Well, good for the crops and keep the dust down. We are going to be talking about brakes again as an extension of last week, as we tend to do. We tend to contextualize and kind of add some historical relevancy. I think what's one of the interesting things about the Jeep market, and maybe it's kind of a lot of people's hobbies, interests, kind of specialty markets. People come in and they kind of pick up where they believe they're entering the market, and they believe that to be true, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't always have a full appreciation for the historical relevancy. And I think some of our most successful institutions in America, specifically, kind of they create a foundation of historical perspective that kind of brings people up to speed. Mm-hmm. And I like to think that for Scott and I, we have been purveyors of this specific industry for decades at this point. So it's not like, oh, hey, we just picked up a Jeep and now we're book smart. Right. But we were actually there for a lot of the changes that are now relevant to our current performance market as we know it. And it's interesting because obviously, if you follow me on my personal socials, you'll know that I was in every nook and cranny of the industry in some capacity over the past week. And so I had a lot of conversations. And it's just interesting because we like to think that we bring to both podcasting and in general, a little something different than many other podcasts out there, in the fact that we've been in the industry for decades and decades and decades, and arguably we're one of the few podcasts kind of grounded in that regard. And we've kind of elevated to and through some talking points, and just and I have a tremendous and immense appreciation for folks who have created the industry for what we now know it is. And that was kind of, for me, what Toledo represents, and we'll be talking about Toledo Jeep Festival here in a hot second. But we will be talking about brakes today, and kind of what it is right now. Because last week, if you didn't catch that one, is what it was and where it came from. And today we're talking about what it is now. Anything to add to that as far as a precursory conversation? I know your jaw hurts.
So do we want to talk at all about master cylinderage?
We were going to talk about the how that functions, the
Brake fluid in general.
brake fluid in general, and the different types of fluid and breakdown.
And how it breaks down for new age vehicles, and then bigger brakes, and why people upgrade. But before I get into that,
Yeah.
let me talk about this weekend, because while we are in 90 plus countries, 6 out of 7 continents, thousands of hours of download time and whatnot, and we appreciate every bit and piece of that. Let me just tell you, you can get involved in this podcast by texting us at our text-only number, 440-855-2100. You can email us directly, contact, CONTACT, at sfj4x4.com. Or we would really love for you to leave us a review on your favorite streaming platform.
Absolutely.
When you leave that review, screenshot it and either email or text us, again, at that number, 440-855-2100, or contact, CONTACT at SFJ4x4. We're going to read that review online, and we're going to enter you into a swag giveaway with Scott's favorite crappy purple strap.
That's right.
Which actually is incredibly useful. So we're going to be giving that away soon enough for those reviews. So please take this time and do that. Now, also, we do go live nearly every Monday morning, and at 10:19 a.m., you too can join us, jump into the comments, and share and conversate and hang out with some other cool Jeepers in that process. And we may announce your name and comment on air as well. And we thank you, both parties, people who choose to join us live and people who prioritize downloading us and listening to us in your ear holes for your own infotainment.
And you were talking about the uniqueness of us and the industry, all of that. But the other unique thing is that we do record live and don't really edit much going into the post-production other than cleaning the audio up. Whereas all those other podcasts out there are pre-recorded and they edit everything heavily. You're getting the real deal when you listen to us.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's a good thing. You probably don't like it, but whatever.
It's us.
You can let us know in your review.
There
You
go.
can let us know in your review, right? So with that said, when we talk about the awesomeness of our industry, and as I was kind of talking about the global reach that this particular podcast has, I want to brag on our local region, though, for a moment, because this past weekend, reasonably the first weekend of August, there was nothing shy of about 11 different Jeep events that you could have gotten involved with. And I'm going to touch on a few that were within an arm's reach of our headquarters, and kind of accentuate just how cool our Jeep community is. And so for one part of our listening base, we had Crawford County Jeepers and the Tool City Jeep Jam. They did a dice run or a poker run, which we have done in the past, which is super fun. You know, people going spot to spot, checking out local attractions, had some great food, played a bunch of cool Jeep and duck and fun, family-friendly activities while using their Jeeps, going from a local establishment to local establishment. And it had a philanthropic pursuit where they did can donations, so like aluminum cans, and some other donated goods for a number of charitable causes, specifically Cans for Wishes and Veterans Leadership Program. And so kudos to that organizer, Diana, and her group, and all the participants of Tool City Jeep Jam for kind of going forth and processing that event for people to get involved in. Equally, in our again within our arm's reach of the headquarters here, we had Stuff Squeaks Jeep, which was an initiative up on Geneva on the Lake. Big organizing body. I understand that this was their 6th year, I believe. They raised over $3,000 for veterans, and specifically in partnership or cooperation with Sub-Zero Mission. So definitely a huge shout out. I saw they had a car crush. They had an RTI ramp. They participate in a local parade. And then equally, they have different dining and kind of again fun activities and events for Jeep owners to get involved in on Geneva on the Lake. So a shout out to all of the event organizers and their charitable pursuits. And then additionally, Freedom Crawlers, yet another club and organization here locally, did a beach day. And I think it's fun. Some people may or may not be cognizant of our physical location. We are about a mile, a little less as the crow flies, to this beautiful drive-on beach of the shores of Lake Erie. And, it's a super unique space. And we ourselves have done some Jeep beach-inspired stuff. And there have been a number of different pursuits. And so this go around was Freedom Crawlers, and they had a Jeep Beach Day where proceeds from their activity went to the Conneaut Water Initiative, which is part of the dive team. Anytime that humans and big bodies of water mix, or water in general, things can go less than desirably. So we have the kind of the resurgence, the initiative to invest in a dive team and a water rescue, and so they're calling it the Water Initiative. And so there's both volunteers and some full-time staff who are kind of facilitating some water safety stuff for our coastal region. So kudos to that group for, again, having a great day with their Jeeps in the sun and on the shores of Lake Erie. I mean, all of these groups had awesome things to do with their Jeeps, and they all chose to ensure that there was a charitable cause associated. How cool is that of our industry?
Right.
So, and then lastly, again, if you're on my socials or, kind of aware with some of the broader national events in our Jeep community, this weekend was the Toledo Jeep Festival, which for me holds a kind of a near and dear place because it was, as the show scene was heating up on a national scale, this was one of the shows that I had early on identified as a priority for us. We've obviously talked to Jerry Huber, who is one of the event coordinators of sorts, specifically for the convention center and the Jeep display, which is this amazing conglomeration of unique historical performance. It's a main stage of Jeeps housed in the Glass City Convention Center. You have the concept vehicles that Jeep creates for our, to push the envelope on the industry, and B, to thrill us as Jeep enthusiasts, And so those are in the convention center, a bunch of unique historical vehicles. If you're unaware, Toledo is not the birthplace of the Jeep, but the birthplace of manufacturing of the Jeep, right? Is where those original Jeeps were built in mass. And so for me, both our proximity to Butler, Pennsylvania, and the Bantam Car Company, and Toledo. It is this kind of mecca of sorts, this pilgrimage space that we can take our Jeeps to and participate in. And this is where the vast majority of our Jeep branded vehicles in large scale have come from in some capacity, one way or the other.
I think the best part about Toledo is how much history they showcase in the convention center. Over the course of the years, they've picked, like they had all the wagons there. They had concept from back in the day. And I know that one specifically, the extended cab was back this year. I saw some talk about that. So it's really exciting. You can go and yes, just walking through the show field, there is some history, but you literally get to live it at Toledo.
And what I think is also interesting is a kind of this purity, this authenticity, where people who are attending Jeep shows nationally, Jeep Beach and Smoky Mountain and Bantam and Ocean City or whatever, those are people who are largely hardcore Jeep enthusiasts who are kind of heading to that event for a very specific reason. Toledo Jeep Festival is unique in the attendees. And you know what? I should have mentioned Carlisle and formerly York, PA Allbreeds, because I have a love for that one as well in those other ones that I was mentioning. Toledo is unique in the fact that many people who are attending are literally the people with their hands and their minds have conceptualized and physically assembled these Jeeps. Mm-hmm. And they are proud that they work in the interior division, or they work in the paint shop, or they work in the drivetrain division. And they go, yeah, you know what? I helped spray that paint in some capacity. I helped I helped lay out the wiring harness in some way, shape, or form.
And how many places can you go and take a picture with the big Jeep sign in front of the Jeep production plant?
Yes.
And I know tons of people that have made that a priority with their Jeep to have a picture of their Jeep with the sign in the background,
yes,
with the manufacturing plant where that vehicle came from,
right
there. I mean, that's pretty darn cool.
It's super cool, and so there's just this high level of authenticity, and it's interesting because there's so many rumors, there's so many whispers, because there's intimate information that people are privy to in day-to-day human conversations that maybe never make it into the public service announcement, or they maybe don't make it into a press release or whatever. But there is a little conversation about a guy who worked, who was in one of the divisions, and he commissioned this set of options for this vehicle. And so there's one or two vehicles made exactly that way. And just the people in the immediate area of Toledo know about this, right? Or they know the guy who works in legal who actually understands the root cause issue of X, Y, and Z recall. Not this subjective and arbitrary conversation that media and the rumor mill has created it to be, but actually you can talk to that person face to face and be like, oh yeah, you know what? That was actually only 100,000 units, but it got totally blown out of proportion. And here we are trying to take care of all of our customer base, and we're looking down the pipe of 500,000 recall unit, because those things happen, know?
Absolutely.
And it was just so cool. And of course, I count Jerry Huber and Bruce among my friends, and these are, as far as I'm concerned, legends of the industry, and they're just incredibly humble individuals who work hard to pull this event off. And so I was proud to have vehicles on display side by side with them, and the stuff that they do is super, super special to me. So thank you to all of those people for the organization. There's a specific event planning group who's in charge of that specific event. They hosted over 1,400 Jeeps in their Saturday parade, and pretty unique. Now, this is. I will stand on good accord, and I will tell you that this is and you can document me, you can cite me, you can reference me. I will say yes, that this factually happened. Jeep went more into this event this year than they have in arguably all the previous years. They brought 3 tractor trailers of concept and historical vehicles out to the show.
Oh, that's cool.
They brought, now I did not count them myself, but I was there when they were arriving, and this was what I heard, 16 total vehicles owned by Jeep Corporation, the mothership, out to the event.
That's awesome.
We've been lucky if they've brought 3 to 5 in the past. They brought 16. They were littered everywhere. People, enthusiasts of all walks of life could walk up and put their hands on a Easter Jeep Safari concept vehicle from not just this year, but years past. And they had historical military vehicles that they own, things that I didn't even know that Jeep had, showed up in big accord. I factually know not 1, not 2, but a whole conglomerate of Jeep executives were on site wandering around the streets of Toledo, talking to people, sharing with people in a kind of a covert manner of sort. They weren't in total suits. They weren't in totally restrictive. Oh, you don't get to talk to me, touch me, do this, that, and the third. They were there and integrated cohesively with Jeep enthusiasts alike.
Because they wanted to hear where the market is and how to improve it.
They are committed.
Without having that presence.
Correct.
Yep.
They are committed to a regrowth and rebuild of the brand following this dismal, decline in sales and odd slew of things that have been, discontinued and so on and so forth.
Well, it's like any good band. When your lead singer leaves, you got to regroup and come out with on top.
In the comments,
100%.
in the comments, Nate is saying you can also get the paint buildup from the Jeep plant. I believe it's commonly referred to as Fordite. And he got a pendant for his wife, and you can see the pumpkin metal metallic in it to match his Jeep.
That's cool.
Yes. I mean, and honestly, while we were there, there is a business that is specializing in vintage and restorative paints. I talked about how we have had to kind of one-off batch manufacture our own vintage paints, and his business is called like Jeep Vintage Paints, and I'm sorry if I butcher that, but it was a young guy totally committed to the rebirth of AMC and older paint schemes to the best of his ability.
Honestly, that brings up a good thing. Is like we talk all the time about like people are like, oh, how can you do a shop and a group that are just passionate about one brand of vehicles? We have found the niche of the niche of the niche in this adventure we call Jeep enthusiasm.
Right.
There's literally someone making a business producing vintage paint for vintage Jeeps, which is just absolute. Just think about that. That's crazy.
And he was there. One of the manufacturers, the OE manufacturers, who absolutely never ever gets any credit, who does suspension manufacturing. And I hate to say it, I don't even know what their name is, because I mean, I can picture it. I know what their booth looks like. I know what their signage looks like. I don't even know what the name is. And they're there displaying a chassis with their suspension design, going, hey, we're the basically, part of the supply chain for the design. Like I said, it's this hotbed of authenticity. And, I just have such an appreciation for where that show comes from, the place at which they are bringing this show. It's not trying to compete with Jeep Beach. It's not trying to compete with Smoky Mountain necessarily. It has something else special with it.
I would say the big shows all have something unique that makes it so it's not like a big car show where you go to one and it's kind of the same no matter where in the country you go. Bantam and Toledo and Smoky Mountain, Jeep Beach, all that kind of stuff. It is unique. You can go to each one, and yes, there's Jeeps, yes, there's enthusiasts, but something is different and unique at each show. So that just justifies even more why you need to go
Correct.
to each one.
Each one there's something special, right? There's something in the special sauce at each show, and that's one of the things that I hope that I can convey in small part. For me, it was a bit of a Jeep nerd and kind of geeks out on this foundational space, and it's just you feel it from start to finish when having those conversations and seeing those vehicles. The other piece, and then this is the rumor mill that you can quote me on as well, is that the gloves are off. That a lot of the restrictions that had existed for the Jeep engineers, the Jeep and Ram truck engineers specifically, that in North American markets, that had been disseminated based on global expectations. And I'm not leaning into this one way or the other, but it is a valid talking point. Electrification, which I am here for hybrid technology and electrification, but there was such a big hard push that it did take away from some other aspects of the performance industry. So now there's a more balanced reapproach, and arguably the decline in sales, they're recognizing that they need to do something different, that the gloves are off, and that within the North American markets and Jeep engineers, Jeep Ram engineers, and among that leadership level, they're going, break the box. Tell me your wildest dream and turn it up a notch, and let's see what Jeep people do with it.
That's awesome.
That's the rumor mill. You can quote me on that. I heard it from a couple reliable sources, which I will not disclose, but I will go on the record and being like, they're listening, and they're here to put V8s in things, to put turbocharged, small engines in things, to big massive axles, to whatever, and see what sticks. So I'm excited to see kind of what the next few years looks like, to see if that actually comes to fruition.
That'll be cool.
For sure. All right, that's my Jeep, my brag on the Jeep community update. We got some brakes to talk about.
So, when we talk about master cylinders and boosters and that kind of stuff,
Proportioning valves.
valves, there is a little bit of history I'm going to wedge in there.
Of course you are. I wouldn't expect anything less.
You've been waiting.
He has. He was salivating over.
I was saving up my my muscles over here in my jaw. Anyway, when Jeep first came out, World War II Jeeps and those, we have what's called a single juice or jar master cylinder, which basically that means that you have one reservoir for fluid to be in, and everything brake related is from that spot. And we have gotten the ones that know about that have gotten a track record of saying that's dangerous and scary, because if you lose fluid in that one spot, you have no brakes. Mm-hmm. Which we alluded before that maybe not as panicky when you're going 35 miles an hour downhill with a stiff wind at your back. It's not that critical.
Those vintage Jeeps we're referring to,
but
from the previous episode.
But it is.
So JK's?
Ouch. Ouch. Anyway.
I once legitimately in a pick-em-up truck blew a brake line going downhill 35 miles with it had a 90-degree turn.
Ooh.
It's a character building experience.
Yeah.
God,
that makes you feel good for a moment.
Wow. I mean, I still, that was, you talk about a butt puckering experience.
He enjoys careening down a hill with a curve at the bottom.
Well, that's
I would not.
He had a nice surge of adrenaline.
I did.
With
I
or
love it.
without a clutch, with or without brakes. Anyway.
Yep. It's all part of nobody tells stories about when things went all right. I'm just saying.
So anyway,
all right.
So that carried us into the 60s. And then at some point we decided that maybe we shouldn't have a single jar of fluid for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we put a little wall in there. And I know they, on good accord, if I don't know a useless Jeep fact, we have other mad scientists that have become before us that do know.
100%.
And V6 Dauntless Jeeps came first with a split master cylinder.
Oh, I bet I know who shared that secret with you.
And we may or may not have a bracket that allows you to do that with the older Jeeps because it's a Jeep, so they only changed what they had to change.
Right,
to make
the very
it work.
bare minimum.
And brackets and other things assist. So you can literally bolt on that into your other Jeeps. And then at some point, we moved from underneath the floor up to the firewall. And then we decided maybe we needed some assistance in pressing the pedal. Ratios and pedal things weren't enough. So then we went into assist, which is on most vehicles, vacuum assisted, vacuum off the motor. It says for when we have a diesel that has low vacuum, so that we either have to have a vacuum pump to assist or there is some Hydro Boost.
And we're not going to get too far off on Hydro Boost, but I will mention for all of our JK owners, which it was very confusing to much of the industry because of the low vacuum conversation.
Yep.
There is a little module where your winch sits. It's this little vertical oriented canister, which is a vacuum producing canister because quite frankly, the engine at low RPMs does not produce enough vacuum. And so that little vacuum pump and canister supplies additional vacuum for your booster to operate. And so if you are a JK and you're like, man, I just feel like my brakes aren't as good as they once were.
Your low pump is probably not pumping.
The little pump might not be pumping anymore. There's your tool in your toolbox for today.
So, and on that note, I'm going to bring up a couple kind of spikes in the brake life. If you are lucky enough to have a 95 YJ, you have a 1 year only brake booster.
Loved
that is double diaphragm.
It's huge.
Huge. Masters or brake booster.
Yep.
And the 94 had a single. The 95 had a double.
Yep.
And on the J...
Share the exact same bolt pattern.
Yep. It's direct swap.
Direct swap.
On the J8 military JK, they also had a special booster master cylinder combination that is also an upgrade on first generation JKs, so 07 through 11, that helps you get a much better brake feel and ability. The 12s and up, they have a different booster, but it is arguably just as good as the J8.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into the JL, still vacuum assisted. Now the vacuum pump isn't keeping your winch company. Now it's keeping your radiator fan company.
Mm-hmm. They learned that people were moving them. People were eliminating them. We were not treating those vacuum pumps appropriately.
They were
They were collecting all the salt from driving down the road.
And if you buried your Jeep to the bumper, then your pump's in the pit. And,
yeah, it was a bunch of things. They learned better. We learned better as an industry. We stopped, people stopped just doing things willy-nilly with them and realized that they were there for a reason.
Yep. So I think that catches us up on that. I'll do a quick, just because Jeff's very passionate about combo valves for some reason.
Oh, no.
I do know why. Jeff just shook his head, but
No, there was a experience with that.
So anyway, first Jeeps did not have a combination valve. They just had one port out of the master cylinder, and that went to all your brake lines via T's and Y's and all that kind of stuff.
Very rudimentary plumbing, right?
At some point, they're like, it'd be nice if a light came on the dash when you lost pressure, and that way the driver knew they were going to careen down the hill at the 90-degree turn.
Seems fair to me.
So they knew to pump or pull the e-brake or jump out of the vehicle or whatever felt right at the
however
time.
the spirit moves you at that moment.
So the first combination valve was literally just a block that the master cylinder went into, had a little light sensor off of it that if you lost pressure, it would go, hey, pretty rudimentary. And then at some point when we went from drum to disc drum, we needed a different amount of pressure for the rear versus the front. For those that don't know, disc brakes require a 2-pound residual pressure. The rear require a 10-pound residual pressure. So inside that combination valve, the rear, for those that have worked on their vehicle, know there's like a big half-inch tall by 1.75 or so lug on the back of the combo valve. That is your residual valve for your drum brakes. That keeps pressure out on the wheel cylinders so that they are ready to brake for you. If you did not have that, they would relax, and you'd have to pump at least once to do that.
I'll also mention, just for whatever, Scott's using the term combo valve or combination valve. Proportioning
Yes.
valve would also be an interchangeable vernacular for this.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes I go back into Scott Neese, and I apologize.
No. I mean, I think that it's just valuable because our base is so all over the place, and I think one of the things that people like about us is that we use appropriate words for what it's actually supposed to be. In some regard, in some areas they're going to call it a combo valve. In some areas they're going to call it a prop valve or a proportioning block. I've heard it referred to in
And
multiple
really,
things.
the honest thing is it's all of those, because in there is your sensor for your low brake pressure. It has your residual valves in it. It also tees off for different lines, say like our 5s and 7s. That's literally where both front brake lines go. You have a single port for the rear. Then we get into the next uniqueness is Comanche has literally a specific combo valve with an extra port to the rear, because we have yet another valve that if you loaded your Comanche like Neil did, then you would have more braking in the rear.
That's why Jeff and I get along so well.
And if you used your Comanche like I did, then you had less braking in the back, which usually seized up and went bad. And
I was
just
going to say, it was
eliminated.
I would love to talk with that engineer. You know what I mean? All the unique things that were in the
I
Comanche.
can only imagine he, at some point in his life, his Jeep had locked up the rear brakes and he had ended up sideways, and he was scared, and you need to fix that. Anyways,
Okay.
Which the combo valve is almost identical to a YJ and even a XJ, except for it has this extra port. So when you're a Comanche and you need to eliminate that valve, you just switch the valve over. As
you're chronicling this timeline, and we're now solidly in the late 80s to the early 90s. As I am careening on some loose gravel because I am exceeding the speed limit, or maybe it was a snowy, blustery day, and I'm coming up to, a stop sign inappropriately. I hit my brakes. My tire's locked up.
Yes.
And I pumped my brakes with my foot.
Yes.
Because
when they locked up, you let off the pedal, and then you reapplied with a little less pressure to try to not have it lock up again.
Well, why don't we do that now?
I was pumping with my foot vigorously, right? And I was perfectly fine. My foot moved for me, and I gauged my stopping distance, and I appropriately pumped, and I did those things because that's what I was supposed to do as an automotive owner, because we used to have responsibility with our vehicles. And now we need to make them so smart that they do it for us.
So the panic part is humans have most of the time,
fight or flight.
They get into a situation, they don't know what to do.
Nancy's.
And they freeze.
And I don't mean anything bad about people who are actually named Nancy.
And when they freeze and their brakes are locked up and their foot is firmly pressed on the brake pedal because they are not doing anything driving the vehicle anymore.
They're just sliding.
They're just sliding, careening now. So in the 90s, we decided, I imagine, in that same club of the guy that put the Jeep sideways with the rear brakes locked up, someone did that, and they're like, we should do something about that. So they called them out with ABS, or anti-lock braking system. Which in my experience on those early models, they kept you straight. But you didn't stop sliding. But at least you were going straight into the obstacle you were going to run into instead of sideways.
But you can definitely feel the pulsing in it when
in the pedal.
Yeah, in the pedal.
And it really screws those vehicles up when you let off the brake pedal and try to pump them.
They don't like that.
They don't like that. Freaks them out. And sadly, the first real models of those, which were into the Cherokees and the small Wagoneers and that kind of stuff, they hung this huge block of aluminum off the master cylinder. And it has, 18 zillion ports off of it. And there's bleeders on bleeders. And trying to get the air out of it is a feat of man. You need to put it into like a vacuum chamber almost to get the vacuum air out of it. There's a rudimentary computer and sensors at each wheel. If you're blessed with this technology, you also have a Dana 35er axle in those models because that's better.
That's so true. I mean, and in that early era, they only put them on Dana 35s.
Yes, for some
100%
reason.
right.
They did make YJs with that technology for some reason.
Fortunately, you could just unplug it, and it was actually the Jeep was not
Too bad.
too bad. And so ultimately, we have the entry of the ABS, and the ABS within the Jeep industry goes unchanged until the JK. And so the ABS module is this quarter size of a shoebox, takes up a bunch of space under the hood, and it's pretty rudimentary. It's largely mechanical with, as Scott had mentioned, basically some tone rings and sensors at each wheel.
Never get plugged up with mud. Ever.
Or when you had a wheel seal leak and grease and grit and fine metal particulate, because a tone ring and a sensor work on a magnetic pulse rate. And so
a sine wave.
yes. And so basically it's, if you got any extra metal particulate down there, you're screwed.
Any on Jeep machining?
Yes. You're done for. It's now that system's kaput.
So the biggest difference, I would say, before with the JK, TJs and older, that if you were unlucky to have ABS, it was kind of this standalone system. It's a pain in the butt, but you could revert it back to non-ABS. See whatever fits you. When you went into the JK, that didn't really happen anymore.
Right.
Because of one big difference. They decided now we don't really need a speed sensor on a transfer case and a bunch of sensors on the wheels, because everything's going to be ABS now.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to streamline it, and we're going to use the ABS sensor as our speedo.
Yes.
That really bit us in the hiney is when we went into junkyard swapped axles. Now suddenly the Jeep computer is like, I don't like your tone ring reading, because of course nobody can make them the same or consistent. And now you have no speedometer, the brake system doesn't like it, and that kind of stuff. And that started the integration of the computer.
It's highly computer controlled.
Into that.
Integrated.
Personally, I think that's when they finally pulled their head out of their ears and said, hey, let's make a system that actually functions and works. And make it not so much where it's annoying or you're actually just sliding straight now.
I was going to say, I actually don't hate the JK and JL and JT for those of you who have those models. I don't hate those ABS systems.
Yes.
Whereas the ABS systems of the early years, and I understand the necessity of stepping stones, but the JK is where we see independent brake control.
Yes.
Or spin-free technology.
I mean, basically, a TJ ABS is MS-DOS.
Yeah. Yes.
And the JK is XP or Vista.
Yes. Much
I
better.
mean, it's so much better. It's crazy that it was just one model year difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say now it's almost a requirement and a really good integration with the vehicle, because now we can be descending a hill. The Jeep can literally hold back on itself, have hill descent control. That's part of the ABS. We can have one wheel spinning, and it can apply that brake. And now we're suddenly through a hole. It makes you look like you have lockers when you don't.
Correct.
Helps Jeep, Jeff's Jeep get somewhere with stock duelers that
You're
shouldn't
just
have been.
bummed that you had to use lockers when I didn't.
This
Maybe.
story will go on forever. but it is absolutely true that that technology made for a more capable rig than many drivers who were starting out
100%.
were. Whereas we, as off-road enthusiasts 30 years ago, had to have some finesse in how we were working our brakes and
clutch.
wheel and clutch and tire and wheel positioning. Now the Jeep was automatically doing some of it for you, and you did not have to have such an elaborate locker or gearing combination. And so it bolsters us. Now, where it actually hindered a number of backyard mechanics, specifically in the JK to the JLL platform, in general, is because of whatever uniqueness that is the little bit of magic in the proportioning of this specific system and the physical brake design. JKs and newer go through rear brakes twice as fast as the front, as a general rule. I'm not saying that that is, engineered into anything or that's a concrete information, but previously we used to think that front brakes depreciated faster. They did the bulk of our stopping of sorts. It was this like rumor or misnomer that we had, I believe, from previous
honestly, I
brake
think
generations.
Part of that is we suddenly were into four-wheel disc
Agreed.
on everything, and the vehicles that you were trading in on that new 09 JK had rear drums,
I agree.
and the rear drums lasted forever.
Yes.
So you went through 2 sets or 3 sets of fronts, and the rears were still happily soldiering
I
along.
love your perspective because that's exactly what I think.
So I think
it was
it's
just a
more
rumor,
than
a
that.
misnomer,
Yes.
right? And so I've had to personally consult through a number of people who are like, well, brakes are DIY jobs. And they used to sort of be when they were less technical than they are now.
And since we like to help the guy that's in his garage trying to help, if you have a JK and you've had multiple calipers seize and fail, and you're replacing them, and you're like, man, the brake pedal has just never been as good as the day I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
That's because you need a scanner on those to get the full pedal.
Correct.
We have literally had Jeeps where we have bled them.
So we're blue in the face.
Blue in the face. The pedal is there, especially when it's off. It will be appropriately height, and then you'll hit it, and it will be like, ugh, why is it so low? Why did I lose half my brake?
Yep.
And then we will literally just hook the scanner to it and perform that bleed.
The computer controlled bleed.
And boom, the pedal jumps literally half a distance.
Yep. And that is a big piece for the DIY community. And unfortunately, your standard $50 handheld scanners will not help you or assist you through that process. But if you've opened up the system in any capacity, arguably no amount of manual bleeding, of pumping the pedal with a partner opening and closing the bleeder at the caliper itself, is ever going to get the air out of that ABS module.
Right.
You have to hook the computer up to it in order to do so. But besides those a couple little quirky things, the other piece is just the value of Loctite on the brake caliper bolts.
Yes.
We saw a number of people, again, I think specifically because of that drum to disc conversation where we had drums previously in the bulk of the rear of many applications, and now we have discs. People weren't kind of being in tune with how they service the vehicle as much. There is an appropriate place for some type of chemical, mechanical bonding of Loctite, and there's appropriate place for grease or brake, some type of brake composite to be applied in appropriate places.
Or never sneeze.
Yeah.
Yes, that too. and they're not. There's when you're doing a brake job, it actually professionally we're using 2 or 3 different chemical consumables in the process.
Yep.
You are never using Never Sneeze on your caliper bolts themselves that actually
Or
fix
slides.
it. Or slides.
Right.
You should never be doing that. There is a prescribed process with our more modern brake
Maybe
systems.
they like to be excited when they go down the hill careening towards a 90-degree turn.
It's remarkable how many people who come to us and be like, yeah, my caliper fell off. It's just Jeeps do that. And I'm like, no, they don't. I bet you just recently had a service within the last 3 to 6 months.
Yep.
Almost
Oh
always.
yeah, somebody so-and-so did it for me. Or
was he a
it's
good
like-
old boy and he had some... Was there his hand silver? Were they...
It's just like the video with the electrician in the basement, and he goes, "Oh, I see you had your house rewired. When was the fire?" oh, wait, how did you know my house caught on fire?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there is some little insider tips and tricks if you're going to be doing your own brakes. I mean, we encourage the DIY community as a whole. That's a big part of why we do our podcast. But understand that this is not this is not the brake job that we all did 20 some years ago in the backyard.
Yep.
There is some finer points to be considered in that process.
Now, the other cool thing that had started happening with the JK and newer is our brake sizes got larger. So we
Yes.
got larger rotors, more pistons on our calipers. Now you can buy bolt-on brake upgrades for your JK that make them a huge amount better.
Yes.
When you're putting on 35s and 37s.
Bolt-on brake upgrades is probably one of my favorite things that have come out of the last 15 years.
And not just a bolt-on like back in the day when we were, going out in the junkyard and trying to find
Because
stuff.
that's exactly what I was going for.
This is engineered that you can daily drive it,
Yes.
and it acts appropriately. It stops appropriately. The ABS still works appropriately. And then they included that upgrade into the JL and JT.
Mm-hmm.
And then some are even better yet than that, with some Rubicons being yet a beefier brake system. I mean, my JT has got the best brakes on any vehicle I've ever had. You just breathe on that pedal and that truck is stopped.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Now, there's also the talk of the different types of fluids that
Yep.
you can use that can enhance that as well. So the DOT3 is the standard that comes in it. And with the DOT3 fluid, it is going to absorb water. It's an ethyl glycol or glycol ethyl or ethyl, whatever it is. I can't talk. I'm using Scott's language.
I am
Glycol
just
ether. Glycol ether, and it is going to absorb water over
Isn't that
time.
called hypophonic or phobic or something?
Something like that.
I don't know.
Are you two are just, I mean, right now, everybody has just snoozed off, or their eyes are wide open watching this train crash, or listening to this train crash.
Viewers now.
So, anyways,
And we are off the rails.
you can actually upgrade to the DOT4 fluid, and it is compatible with Jeeps, and it's the same base fluid. It's got an additive to it, but that additive actually makes it absorb water faster,
Yep.
which means you now have to change your fluid more often.
So believe it or not, when the dealership tells you, hey, you're supposed to change your brake fluid, they're not actually doing snake oil. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah, because it absorbs water and it degrades over time.
Yeah,
So
it'll depreciate your system and mess with your calipers. And
The other thing that it can do, and we, with our 40 mile an hour downhill with stiff wind, don't experience this very often, but in extreme heat situations, it can actually boil the fluid, and you can have brake loss because of that. If I'm not mistaken, DOT5.
DOT5 is not compatible with our Jeeps because it is a completely different composition.
Yes, and that was made more for the race car world, where boiling of fluid is a
Yes.
problem.
So the DOT3 and the DOT4 does have a higher temperature, a boiling point, which is why that one is technically an upgrade fluid for Jeep.
Yep.
But then you go to the DOT5, like you said, and it's a significantly higher boiling point.
Yes.
Different composition. But there is also a DOT5.1, which is compatible with Jeep,
oh my god.
but it's overkill. There's no reason to put it in a Jeep.
And I know, just because I'm a purveyor of the restoration community, I've known many people that hate DOT3 because it is one of the best paint removers you have ever seen.
Yep.
You paint something really pretty, you put some brake fluid in it, man, it is gone now. So I've seen people use DOT5 or silicone fluid, as it was known when it first came out, and have fought their vehicle for literally 3 months trying to get brake pedal and could not get brake pedal.
Because
And
it's
that
not
is because
compatible.
it's not compatible in the seals, in the way it functions. You're not seeing the minutia. You don't understand it. yes, it doesn't eat the fluid while he bled his brakes for 3 months.
Eat the paint, right?
Eat the
That you
paint.
missed over, that you accidentally spilled it in the process. I mean, that's what we're talking about.
The backing plates were nice and pretty while he couldn't drive his vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great showpiece. It just sits there.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting in the production notes, Jeffrey, that you share with us that it says for dot 3, which has a lower viscosity, you're to change it every 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
I can honestly say that I feel like if we surveyed 100 Jeepers, I don't
Nobody.
care, 100 vehicle owners,
Maybe one.
I think that 99 of them would be like, I have never, in this room, there ain't one of us who's changed our brake fluid every 3 years.
No.
I am blown away. I'm not sure where this specific documented talking point would come from, but
I mean, the sad reality is they're not wrong. If you were to look at, go to the shelf, buy a brand new bottle of dot 3, you look at it, it's clear.
mm-hmm.
Guarantee you go out to your vehicle, your daily driving, and you look at the reservoir, it's not going to be clear. It's going to
Sure.
be darker.
Yeah.
That darkness is from the absorption of
Moisture and particulate.
Yep.
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 I love it. Couldn't have said it better. You guys hit that nail on the head. So, I mean, we've sufficiently covered, the some of the fluids, some of the size, some of the bolt-on kits. Understanding, folks, that some of the bolt-on kits literally just it's a piece that I want to hammer home. They literally just move where the caliper grabs the rotor. So they go with an oversized rotor and an extended caliper bracket, reusing your stock calipers. And that is basically the equivalency of using a longer lever to pry on something. It's just basically you've increased the leverage or the mechanical function of the rotor caliper itself. So that's what some of them are. Some of the caliper upgrade or some of the big brake upgrades are in fact caliper upgrades, as you had mentioned, whether it was this program or the last one, where there might be we might have gone from a single piston to a dual or a dual to a quadruple. We've
when in
seen
doubt, add more pistons.
Yeah, right. We've seen, we all can kind of loosely conceptualize from the race industry the concept around Brembo brakes and this massive caliper.
We've also seen the material of the calipers change over time. The old ones were just a big hunk of cast iron. So now we have aluminum, helps get the vehicle lighter, helps dissipate heat better.
As far as the drilled and slotted are concerned, I, for many years, talked about how drilled and slotted are perfectly acceptable in the off-road industry. Now, this was a professional opinion derived from the fact that we had engineers from Power Stop, which is the Power Stop, when they were largely manufactured here in the States, in Chicago. And they came into our shop and they met with us and they had a conversation with us. And they said, basically, through natural heat cycles, that drilled and slotted, which is basically increased venting in the machine surface of the rotor itself, should push out the material. So as the rotor warms naturally, it should push out the particulate. It should not allow it to build up in the brake rotor itself. In hindsight, what I can tell you is that east of the Mississippi, in any of our glacially formed areas, so anywhere there is a high sand, silt, particulate count, and of course that could be, I suppose, ocean frontage as well. When you create liquid sandpaper and it gets all up in your rotors, it then becomes about rotors and caliper or pads. It becomes about the material itself. So that high liquid sandpaper that is created in water crossings or when you're out on the beach, whatever, that becomes about the material. And it is my personal and professional opinion, and understand that Power Stop hung us out high and dry about 5 years ago. So if you were one of our unfortunate customers who we sold you into Power Stop and then we had to eventually move in another direction, it's because, quite frankly, they changed their composite material and precursor to the copper conversation that we talked about last program. They changed it, and all of a sudden those pads and rotors started to wear out very quickly.
And not only that, we realized that when you're giving more voids for that particulate to hang out, we were literally seeing the little drills filled with rust.
Yes.
Because we're in a high salt winter wonderland where we live.
Yes.
It was not the best.
It comes down to the maintenance and care that you're going to show your vehicle during ownership. A drilled and slotted rotor does work in how we use it. It looks cool and it does work.
Joe O'Brien,
but
they don't mix with off-road Jeeps, is what he says.
And the challenge is you have to be on top of maintaining it. You're going to have to use a salt inhibitor product like a Salt Off. You're going to have to hose out every time you are done off-roading. And again, the composition of the material itself 5 to 7 years ago was way different than what we have today. And I stand on that. If you were to call in and say, hey, I'm considering this particular product. Now, I welcome Power Stop to come back to the table and have that conversation with me at a professional level.
Yep.
But until that actually happens and they've alerted us to what has or hasn't changed and in what capacity, I recognize that drilled and slotted may not be the best for the average bell curve consumer and Jeep enthusiast.
Yep.
So take that into consideration when you are choosing your brake upgrades. Now, I love their caliper still. Powder coated red, Jeep specific product. I'm here for it. Super cool. They work well. I have no reservations.
I'm just going to jump back into the comments for a sec because when we were talking about the fluids, Fred said he changes his around every 10 years.
Oh, good. Good for you, Fred. Well, you're still ahead of me. I'll be honest with you. So, as far as kind of the myth busting of what we do, squeaky brakes equals bad brakes.
Not true.
Not true necessarily.
Nope.
Copper was essential, and it used to be. That is true.
Yep.
And as far as
help the squeaky
environmental
squeaky.
concerns, we now are changing our thought process there. Disc brakes are always better.
No,
not always.
Not
No.
always.
We're a firm believer that appropriately set up drums can actually work very well. Also, we've done some disc conversions on some of our Vinto Resto mods, and we actually go, maybe would have been better if we just stuck with a high-quality drum
Left
kit.
me lacking or wanting a little bit there. And it was a lot of work.
And
make it
honestly,
work.
we did a number of disc brake upgrades on Cherokees.
Yep.
And I think we did one in an early model TJ or YJ.
I'm still here for an XJ or a TJ on 35s, putting rear disc on it. I think that is an upgrade. But
I don't know. We did
but
8
pretty much-
1/4 with a Liberty rear caliper pad rotor
I was
combo.
excited about that for 2 seconds.
And I just don't think it's worth it.
No.
I don't think it's worth it. I like the 8 1/4. Don't get me wrong.
The young Scott in the junkyard finding upgrades did really get excited about that
Yes.
and made it work a couple times, but it doesn't. The juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah. And all you got to do is bigger rotors to make better braking.
And that's not true.
Right. So
Because if your master cylinder isn't capable, if your
It's a
calipers
system.
aren't capable, just because you upgrade one part doesn't mean that the whole system's better.
Suddenly your caliper's so large it's taking wheel weights off your wheels.
Right.
May or may not have happened a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So I hope that we sufficiently have covered a broad spectrum of our Jeep specific brake systems.
Wait, hold the brakes.
No.
Daddy Jeep just joined us.
I'm gonna jump to them. Hold the brakes. Badooch. That is just a classic Jeffism. Here's the thing. As far as if there's further information that you're looking or a suggestion for a future topic, you can hit us up on that text-only number, as I mentioned, 440-855-2100, or head over to our email, contact, CONTACT, at SFJ4X4, and let us know how we are doing, and as far as the topic information is concerned, if you need some further understanding of it or want some further explanation on a podcast, we're happy to do that. Speaking of Rob Morgan, and I bragged on much of our industry, and I glazed over his seemingly very successful hot girl summer wheeling tour
with barbecue.
with barbecue.
With barbecue. That's the most important
And,
part. His
right.
barbecue. His
and
barbecue.
and I am of course.
He's coming to the shop for his next podcast interview with his barbecue, right? That's
Yes,
the plan?
yeah, he
Okay.
said he was going to.
okay.
And if he doesn't, then he's letting all of our listeners down.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I did not get a good kind of a little analysis on his experience. But if you were into the off-road scene and you are not participating in one of the other 1,100 activities that you could do with your Jeep, he led a really cool participatory weekend.
I mean, the biggest takeaway I saw from that event is that he didn't have any lockout break.
He didn't break any lockouts, I heard.
Because he had dry flanges on.
Go figure.
Wow.
He did give me credit, so I'm not going to bust him too much on that.
Yeah.
But that seemed like a very successful enterprise, and I hope that he continues that going into the future. I would like to see it on a different weekend, but I'm biased, and I think that was very
He's
cool.
sad he couldn't go.
I am sad that I couldn't go. I was all over, didn't stop, and had long full days, and I will kind of indicate why if you're interested in hearing following the outro. Otherwise, we loved having you as part of today's program, both live and our listeners. Take this time to leave us a review on your favorite streaming platform. We greatly appreciate it, and we value you for being an important, intricate part of our Jeep family. Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.
So it's fun. A lot of, we used to share like all the time on stuff, and now we purposely wait and use this time to congratulate and inform and that kind of stuff. So I want to
surprise,
be
yes.
first to reaffirm congratulations on getting your 80 miles of
Water line and fiber
installed.
optics ran.
Right?
And that's
Thank you.
quite the accomplishment.
Yeah,
For to support you, I put the backhoe back on the deer so we could relish in it. It's totally not the reason that my wife wanted it off her patio.
she wanted it off her patio, I'm sure.
But
I love it. Thank you. And that was, so we ran up to Toledo. I'm just going to do the briefest overview for folks who are inclined. We ran up to Toledo. We made an early morning, a long day of the haul over there on Wednesday. Got in thanks to Jerry and company. And again, seeing those icons of the industry as far as I'm concerned. It was awesome. Got to talk with them, set up our display. You'll see, if you haven't yet, this aerial photo. Of course, Savage does an amazing job of documenting our experiences. And you'll see our corner display set up there with these individuals that I have a tremendous respect for. And you'll see our rig inside the convention center. And it looks, as somebody mentioned, like RC Toys.
Yep.
Because it's just massive, And to see that when we set up, and then to see it fill in around us as the weekend progresses with these other incredible pieces of Jeep history and icon nature is just awesome to be part of. So we did that on Wednesday. Kind of a quirky, happy accident, and I'll just kind of speak it out into the universe. They inspect all of our vehicles, and so that vehicles that drive into the convention center have to have less than a quarter or eighth of a tank of fuel. This is a fire marshal code. The Dayton used to be the Dayton Off-Road Indoor Expo. I think it's called Mid-America now. Unfortunately, we didn't participate this past year. They do the same thing. Fire marshals from state to state. Anytime you have an indoor display, you can only have so much fuel, and you have to have your battery disconnected. So So we make sure we oblige. We do all the right things, and I disconnected all my batteries, and I left the hood open for the fire marshal to come around and inspect because we were there early. They had not inspected, and they'll put these little dots. So if you are ever at one of these indoor shows, you'll see typically it's almost universal that there will be a little piece of paper, little dots on the windshield. That's the fire marshal saying, hey, this display has been personally inspected and we're good to go. I left all the hoods open so the fire marshal will come around and see that we had, in fact, disconnected the battery and da-da-da-da. They left all of our hoods open. So we did the entire show weekend with the hoods open. It was not exactly anticipated, but you did get to see the one Jeep. It's a beautiful nut and bolt restoration in its final stages. That engine's gorgeous. Everything looks nice under the hood. You got to see the YCJ, which is a YJ in CJ clothing. You got to see the very stock-looking YJ engine bay. And in fact, actually, I am proud of the conversion because a number of people, when they do the conversion, they don't know where to put some of that YJ stuff because, quite frankly, it doesn't fit nicely under the hood anymore. And Scott did an amazing and beautiful job kind of shoehorning all of that stuff in. And then there's a little secret sauce item, which is the airbox itself, which a lot of people, the YJ doesn't fit, the CJ is not a good fit. And Scott has a little bit of secret sauce, and I'll keep that as his secret sauce. That is, he's the cook, and I'm gonna let him cook for him his recipe. So that was under there, and that was on display. But then we had like J5, Johnny Fives. He's just an eco diesel, which is cool. Of course, our hood's popped, and so you know that it is in fact a diesel. I didn't anticipate any of those all being popped. Now, we leave, folks. I'm not actually at Toledo, and that's a little bit of the insider piece because the next day we're right back on the road again, and we're at Mickey Thompson's headquarters, and we do a full behind-the-scenes tour and some technical stuff, and I have the opportunity to meet with the CEO and the director of marketing, and we're there fully ingrained at Mickey Thompson, and a big shout out and a thank you for them and their participation in an ongoing project that we're doing that will be ideally revealed pretty soon here. It's cool stuff with that. Then I'm back in the shop because we got 11,000 Jeeps on property, and some of them are going well, some of them are being a boulder uphill both ways. And so back in the shop with a full regular work day. I'm not, unfortunately, getting to just hang out at the shows and wine and dine and talk about how great our Jeeps are. We're here putting in the time on the service floor and doing what we need to get done. From there, Saturday, had some family stuff, made sure that, because obviously I hadn't seen them because I've been on the road for several days, took care of that in the morning. And then I got on the back of the tractor, and I was... come hell or high water, I was putting in water. And as I've revealed in the past to our listening audience, my wife and I are hand building a small home. It's not quite tiny, but it's not quite normal.
It's Simpson.
And you just chose to be 2-3 miles off the roadway.
That's right. Because
he wants to pee off his front porch.
Well, that's true.
That's true. Fair. Okay, I don't have to say anything more other than a huge shout out to both the end of this weekend and then into this. I worked, I think all too often some of our public service utility providers don't get enough credit. They answer the phone at off hours. They provided input to me, and they were there to guide me as a DIYer, as we do oftentimes to our listening audience, to guide me in making good choices that hopefully are longitudinal in a quality installation. Despite the fact that I don't know what I'm doing, self-admittedly, they were there to provide the best guidance possible. I love knowing that I know what's in the ground. I know what I did. Because quite frankly, that's pretty rudimentary. You know what I mean? It's actually kind of, I don't take anything away from our good craftspeople who are doing the ditch digging and who are doing the pipe laying and who are doing all that kind of stuff.
We actually have more appreciation from now.
I have more appreciation now. and the connections that are made underground and why that frost line is what it is. I want to know that stuff, and I can step back and say, hey, I did that. Was it worth the 40 to 50 hours on the backhoe to do it? It's in the eye of the beholder. Yep, and it's you and your 30-minute project that turns into an entire weekend of laying on your back, questioning your life choices, and running back and forth to AutoZone and ourselves and Summit and so on and so forth. Eye of the beholder, you know.
100%.
So thank you very much. And then we were back to Toledo again yesterday. So, on the move, just a perpetual motion machine is how I like to think of it. I'm going to turn to you, and kudos to you as well. First of all, you had a major health thing that you got taken care of, but you have a new addition to your family fleet.
We do. I had my wisdom teeth ripped out on Tuesday. I did purposely Tuesday because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss the podcast on Monday.
I think that's important for our listeners at home.
And I used the past week to recover, and we had no idea how it was going to go. So I went in with very low expectations. But in the course of all that, my wife's car was deciding it was going to be a little
Real quick, you didn't have just one, not two.
No.
You had 4 wisdom teeth. I mean,
5 teeth total, wasn't it?
I was supposed to have 5 teeth removed. They decided in the heat of battle that one was not worth the squeeze. That was so far deep that I would be out of commission forever. So they left that one be. So 1 molar and 3 wisdom teeth. So I have 1 wisdom.
So you
left.
still have a little bit of smarts left.
A little bit.
that's a
of smarts
tiny
left.
bit. Okay.
Tiniest bit. But anyway, my wife's car decided it was going to be a butthead in the middle of all that and become a 2017 with almost 100,000 miles on it. So the exhaust broke and fell off, and she was embarrassed driving her car, even though it sounded a little bit like a rally
car at that point. I think it just sounded like rally. You should have told Amy, this is cool. This is a rally car.
Neil would have doubled down and been like, bleh.
I was like, I got a rally car now.
was not-
It's like a new iteration of ownership.
It wasn't really that loud, but she, I can appreciate, we both have to find where our wives are and a certain comfort level. And I got underneath of it. We ordered a pipe for it, fixed it, and I got underneath it Friday morning and looked at it and went, this is a lot rustier than I remember. And why didn't I fluid film this like I should have been? And that kind of stuff.
yes.
So we had already been flirting with the idea of replacing it. She had been mad at Subaru for a multitude of things. And so we were thinking about going to Toyota, but the universe had other plans. We went to look at Toyotas. They are very expensive. And ironically, they asked what you're driving currently. We said an Outback. And they said, well, we just got in. We literally haven't even got pictures on our website yet. This 23 Subaru Ascent, which for those that don't know, that is their 3rd row biggest SUV they make. Her cousin has one. They love it. So I said, well, can we look at that? And she had this do not pass go, do not collect $200. If any vehicle she was looking at was white, she was not interested. It could have been $5. Didn't matter. She was not buying white. And I kept saying, like, you made me paint your CJ
I was going to say,
white.
Snowflake is literally a white CJ7.
So it's, yes, dear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's not an agreeable. This was a pretty dark charcoal.
Yeah.
She did not want leather. This is full leather. She did concede on that. And I also gave her crap. When we bought the Outback, she did not want a sunroof. Sunroofs were problematic. This has the giant panoramic over both seats, sunroof. She's now likes that. I'm here for it. It's fine.
You'll have seals to deal with later. But at least you know how to do it.
It's whatever. But proud of her. She was able to do all the financing, all that herself. I was just a bystander at that point, which is a heck of an accomplishment in today's world with all the costs of things. We were also able to get them down on the price a lot on the car, and they gave us top dollar for the Outback. So
outstanding. Congratulations
It
to
was
you guys.
great. And the other small thing to surprise him is I also completed my Class 1 Reiki training.
Oh, Oh, congratulations.
So working on that as well because, we need more things to do.
We need more
Yeah.
things
Yeah, why
and
not?
good vibes in general in this world. And Jeffrey, bring us home. You were a music man for your nonprofit all
Oh,
weekend.
it was a very busy. So started with Thursday really started Wednesday setup, but we had Dan Rice days that we participated in as a vendor for the nonprofit, and we had instruments available for people to borrow. We were selling raffle tickets. We were selling merch, and it was busy. It was nice weather all week and weekend, so we were busy. We were slammed all through that, and we also double dutied, and we did the Erie Blues and Jazz Festival, which was just absolutely amazing. It was busy both days. I had volunteers down there while I was at Dan Rice on Saturday. Sunday, I went down and did it. And I'm not going to say who, but I had several prominent Erie figures actually seek us out, specifically looking to meet me and thank me for what we're doing and congratulate on our success and how we've been growing as a nonprofit. So I thought that was really cool to have that experience. And
Sure.
it was really fun because Blues and Jazz Festival, they actually have 3 different stages set up in Frontier Park. And for those that aren't familiar, it is off of the bayfront in Erie. So you're right by the bay near Lake Erie. And it is a massive park. There's soccer fields. There's all sorts of things to do in this park. The stage that we were at is the rhythm stage. So they had the main stage, the rhythm stage, and the dome stage. Scott, you would have really enjoyed it because the dome stage is where they were doing sound baths and other things like that. The rhythm stage was more of your general kind of music, and then the main stage was your blues and jazz highlight acts. Where we were at was all the craft vendors and everything. And what was awesome is every group that played on that stage on Sunday while I was there was either as a group in our competition in our event or at least 1 or 2 of their participating artists in their band
Yes.
were involved in our competition
Yes.
event
That's
coming
awesome.
up. So
Coming
that was
up.
really cool to
Yes.
see that. And to get to hear full sets from some of these artists that have participated in past events of ours but only had a song or 2. Now I'm getting to see full sets of them, and it was really cool.
Outstanding. And if you are in our general 3 to 5 hour market radius and you're looking for something neat to do, it's a little outside the Jeep purview, but there's a strong Jeep culture in Erie, Pennsylvania as well. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
The Jeffrey's event and Heberly's Heartstring event is happening in about a month away at this
Yeah,
point.
August 30th and 31st, and it's 41 different acts, all music, are performing on stage in just those 2 days. Food trucks, vendors, everything. It's going to be really fun. And honestly, as part of that, Altered State Distillery came over to our booth this weekend and invited us for a fundraiser event August 10th at their distillery. They're doing a concert series, so we'll be there for that as well.
Yeah, so if you're in the music scene or you're just looking for something fun to do and cruise into a cool area with your Jeep, you can go visit close to that and hang out with this particular weekend event. All right, folks, there was the last couple comments that came in. Nathan is asking about some of the reviews. We're compiling those for next week. We'll go ahead and have a handful. Yes, a couple more have come in, but we will be sharing those more in a concerted effort there. Jeannie, thanks for offering to put the hoods down. Quite frankly, because we were not necessarily there, I did not realize they were up until Davey and I started to unpack some of the footage and pictures that we started seeing coming in. And at that point in time, the deed was reasonably done. Again, I think that kind of covers that. And there was a lot of winching and wheeling for the Daddy Jeep Hot Girl Summer off-road event.
I'm also going to plant a seed because we like to do the taste test. I brought something in, but because Scott is still recovering from the wisdom teeth removal, we're going to wait a week. He's making us wait for this. But it is a trail mix called, this flavor is cinnamon and honey. Now, this is from Grammy's Kitchen, and I'll tell you more about that when we do the taste test, but it's something to look forward to in a week.
Man, I love that type of homemade different kind of artisan flavors, and I don't care whether it's preserved and in a jar. It's getting to that season. I don't know. I like it in the summer. I understand that. But come fall.
Oh, the flavors of fall.
All right.
Nothing.
Taste test coming up soon for that. Until next week, Jeep on.
Keep on.
Jeep on.